What's up, everybody? Gonna do a video here on a pizza that I absolutely love. If you're dieting, or even if you're just in maintenance, or even for me in a surplus, this is something I really enjoy. It's easy, it's cheap, and it takes less time than actually going to drive to pick something up and come home. So, and there's many different ways to spin this. So, for today, I'm going to go over the step-by-step of how to make it, and something that I found is it was actually inspired from a recipe that was shared by a gym trainer, and I've spun it with some steps to make it a little bit better, actually a lot better. In the beginning, I think there was some things that it was kind of lacking in terms of steps or clarity to, to make sure it came out, just absolutely perfect. So not only that, but I love it for meal prep or throwing these in the freezer that can be re-air fried, and that's really where the kind of the gold nugget of this is that there's a bunch of different things you can do in order to be successful during the week. So it's not just for one day, you can make it for multiple days. And there's many different ingredients you can use depending on the toppings that you like. So it's kind of whatever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a, I got my food scale, got my bowl. We're going to make the batter first, or the dough. It's kind of interesting because it's something that I would, just tasting from the dough alone, you would never guess that this would come out the way it does. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I got a timer here. It usually takes 25 to 30 minutes to get this done. So we're just going to go ahead and see. It actually takes way longer to set all this up on camera. So let's just go ahead and get the timer going. Make sure I'll show the steps that are really important in this to make sure it has the best flavor for you. And then and that's it. Yeah, so let's get started. So okay. I have a couple different versions, but if you want the dough I'm making right now is for a 12-inch pizza pan. You can also make them in singles, and I actually am tonight making a single version, so my wife's having one. A different flavor, different version, but that's kind of the beauty of this is you can make multiple pizzas at once. If you do too many, it's kind of difficult, so I say focus on one or the other, but for tonight we're doing a combination. So first step is in the dough. I think the instructions or in the recipe, it's going to be 100 grams of all-purpose flour, and kind of scoop those in. I keep this on hand in a little jar, convenient. All right, there we go. And then the next is going to be 16 grams, I think, of 14 grams of coconut flour. Add that in. And then we got baking powder, and I think it's 8 grams of this. Really with baking, generally, you want to be pretty precise. To me, this has a little bit of flexibility. I haven't found it to be too terrible if I've made all right, so garlic salt. I usually add about a tablespoon or a teaspoon and a half. If you add a little bit more, that's all right. So, but just be wary if you're using salty toppings, then you don't need to add as much in the crust. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and do, that was about 2. Yeah, that's good. Saltier the better. If you don't put enough garlic salt in there, it really doesn't have enough flavor. That's what I found anyway. And it doesn't have that punch when you eat it. So Italian seasoning. To your liking, I just make sure it has a good little coating in there. Really, this isn't calorie-wise; it's more of like kind of flavor. It gives it that really authentic taste. And then when you have all your dry ingredients in, you're just going to kind of stir them together. I haven't found that this made really a difference or not in the dough, but I just do it. So then we're going to zero out our scale, and we're going to do 100 grams of egg white. Right there, and then we're going to do 1 serving or 170 grams of Greek yogurt. Now I've tried different Greek yogurts. This is non-fat. If it's a little more watery, just be careful of how much you put in. It can make it really almost too wet. So this one is freshly opened. I just made one little side one for this one. But yeah, we're going to do 170 grams of this. And if you put a little bit less, that's okay. If you do too much, you're going to generally need to add a little more flour, which means you're bringing the calories up. Okay, so we're about 160. That's close enough. So what's going to be really interesting about this dough is how it comes out raw. Generally, when you eat raw dough, or when I eat it anyway, it's like super. I think it's good. It's a reflection of how it's going to come out. And with this one, if you can kind of see, it's going to be like almost like sticky. And when you taste it, it's something just doesn't taste right. Like there's no way this is going to taste like pizza dough. And so I've done many different versions of pizzas, most specifically like flatbread pizzas, like the lavish breads and flatbreads and tortilla pizzas. So, because when you're on a diet, you're always trying to save calories, right? Where the dough is kind of where we kind of have to sacrifice to, save. So, what I found with this is not only is the protein super high, but you get that kind of thick crust taste and the breading, which is like, it's genius. So whoever really developed this is like either super lucky or super smart with how to combine ingredients. Because number one, I would never guess to use Greek yogurt and egg whites and a flour. And not only that, you can see this is like, it's really sticky. It doesn't even look like dough. You can't even touch this. So now you can either, we mix it together really good, and that looks good. And if you actually kind of take a little taste, you're gonna say, no way, this it's not jiving. So the next steps is going to be to get our pans ready. So that's going to be what I'm going to do next. Now, first off, you got to be at 500 on your oven. I had started that. Usually that's my first step, is get the oven going. If I didn't have all these ingredients out like this in doing a video, I would have started the oven and then bring them out one by one and kind of get it going. So that's where we're at now. Let me get these lined up. So let me wash my hands off. And what we're going to do next is take some parchment paper. And we're just going to pull out a piece. Be careful not to cut yourself on the sharp edge. I've done that many times. Just going to take a nice little piece. And then you flip it to pull up. And that's on the video. And these are different ingredients. We're going to use the toppings. This side was just dough. Now to do the smaller tray, it's going to be kind of a little bit different, but not much. But we're going to take out a nice piece, kind of maybe a laser, pull that out. And so when you're doing these little personal ones, I kind of get my hand in it and just kind of push it just a little bit, and then most importantly, take you a little bit of nonstick right on the top, just so, just a couple seconds worth. It doesn't need to be a lot. Okay, so now we're pretty much ready to go. You can see how sticky this is. It's pretty ridiculous. It's like, there's no way this is going to turn into pizza dough. You can just see it's super sticky. So now we're going to get our spatula. Okay. And we are going to go ahead and get it there, right in the middle. See, that doesn't even look right. You just look at this and it's like, there's no way. And it's super sticky. And this is where, if you try and use the spatula, I've tried a few different recipes over the years where when you use kind of these bases for like desserts, like Greek yogurt, it's so sticky you start touching it and it just gets everywhere. And you're like, no. So what we're going to do is we got that one, then we have another one for this personal one that is actually in the fridge. Alright, and it is going to come right on out. I had this one ready to go. Pop it right in the middle. And that's the cool thing about parchment paper, is you can kind of slide it around a bit. You can see this stuff is just so sticky. And see, you can't spread it around like this. That's just not going to work. So we got another trick for that. So I'm going to clean my hands off real quick. Okay, yeah, still doesn't taste all that great. And this is where the next step comes in. So we have saran wrap. So this is plain old saran wrap from Costco. Like I said, that's a sharp edge. Be careful of that. But here's where how we get this spread out pretty even. I'm going to cut off a piece. Get that out of the way. And we're going to take, see this stuff is kind of coming together. So what I like to do, generally kind of spread it out, give it a little coat, not a lot, just a little bit, and And then you're going to actually grab it over the top. We'll do this one first, the personal pan. And just kind of spread it all the way to the end. And the nice thing about parchment is, like I said, you can kind of move it around. It's a little forgiving. You really want to get it all the way to the end. The best you can, as even as you can. And if the paper kind of clumps up, you just kind of push it out. Work with it there. And this is probably the longest part, but this is what makes it even for the most part. See how it's kind of forming in the pan? You know how good that's coming out on camera. I'm going to do it this way. Kind of thick. There. And the reason we sprayed that pan is as we come up, it doesn't have anything on top. So if you find out that the dough's sticking, you got to just do just a little squirt, and that's more than enough. So right now, we're almost to the edges. Like so. And the more the edge, the better, because it's bigger. Like I said, it looks better. It fills the entire pan. This doesn't need to be perfect, but it just needs to be what it's like. Mostly like that. Really fill it in all the way across. And then just kind of, I like to go around the edges because the edges will kind of build up. Come out from the middle. And there, like I said, this is that important step. Not the best, but it's going to come out nice. And same thing with this one. We're going to do the same steps. Okay, so we're going to just light coat. And it's the same thing here. And since this is the bigger pan, this is the bigger version, I'm going to go all the way out to the edge. And I just kind of try and come from the center. Like I said, this is probably the most time-consuming portion, and sometimes it'll kind of spill out of the side, but trust me, like, this is necessary. Just to give it, and see how it's trying to stick a little bit on me, so I'm gonna a little more, keep it from sticking. And there's probably versions where you can make this a thicker crust on the end, depending on how much you push out. For me, I just kind of keep it mostly the same. And the cool thing too about the parchment paper, see how it moves around, you can kind of shift it. The main thing is just to get it even as you can, and you'll have to change positions. And like I said, the more I make them, the more I'm just trying to do it a little bit nicer for the camera, but I usually just kind of rush this part with it. But it's the most time-consuming part. And for me, the most important thing in meal prep is to make it least time-consuming, so I'll keep wanting to do it. That's what reinforces me to do meal prep, is to make it where it doesn't eat a lot of my time up. Because there's recipes you can eat out there that are really tasty, but if it takes me an hour to make them, I'm going to be less likely to do them. So that's just my little hack. Okay, and so we didn't do the best job there, but it's close. We're almost around. We can do just one more from the center, and that should be close enough. Alright, there we go. And even if we see what happens when you touch it, it gets sticky. So anyway, alright, pretty close. I think that's decent. So now these are going to go in for 10 minutes on 500, and then we're going to pull them out, and there's another important step. So I'm going to probably put these in, check out for a minute, and then I'll get back on camera when we're ready to top them up. So we got one in there. Okay. Alrighty, so basically while the pizza's crusts are cooking, I kind of generally get all my ingredients ready to go, measured everything out. So I kind of had some of the ingredients up there earlier with fat-free cheese and regular shredded mozzarella, and the reason I combine them is if you just use fat-free, it's less calories, but the texture is kind of a little off. So using some of the regular mozzarella is generally going to give it that little gooey kind of cheesy flavor. I have my meat lovers or supreme version, whatever you want to call it. It's got turkey pepperoni. There's no reason to use regular pepperoni. The calories are so high. Huge hack. It tastes the same. Canadian bacon. I got a little bit of bacon crumble in here as well. So this is all pre-measured out, ready to go. I don't have my sauce measured out, but I'm just going to put it on the food scale and drizzle it on the top. Got some crushed red pepper, some oregano, just a sprinkle of Parmesan. Got a little bit of some mushrooms here. I'm gonna put some jalapenos and maybe a little green chili. So big old pizza, 1,000 calories, and it's like close to 100 grams of protein, or 90 or something like that. But like I said, super filling. My wife's doing the Alfredo chicken version. We got some Alfredo sauce, and that's the key thing on sauces is you gotta watch it out. But this is 45 calories per serving. It's gonna be more than enough. Give it the flavor. We got some just regular. She doesn't want the fat-free cheese, which is fine. This version is still gonna be under 500 calories. Huge for the personal pan. Gonna fill you up. Tastes delicious. She's got a little bit of olives and some artichokes and a little onion going in hers. So, and same thing with my right here, 50 calories a serving for the sauce. So that's kind of all important is how you pick your ingredients. You can do this however you want. I've done barbecue chicken versions, buffalo chicken. I've done pepperoni and green chili. Many different ways to make this. So I'm gonna get these pizzas out. The one thing I want to bring to the table and show on camera for sure is this little guy here. I can't believe it's not butter spray. This is imperative. I've done it without it. The original instructions didn't do this, but I've used this stuff in the past, and it really makes a difference. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull my pizzas out, if they have the right golden brown top, which they pretty much do. Pretty close. Mine needs maybe another minute. Actually, I'm going to give those maybe one more minute. So let's do one more minute. Because the ovens cook a little bit differently, so that's something to pay attention to. Is if you have to turn it, this oven generally 10 minutes is good if I'm doing one. If I'm doing multiples, I may have to spin them at the 10-minute mark and do another minute, or spin them halfway in between. So, but basically, yeah. So in this version, something too with the chicken is it's a Costco, just the white meat from the rotisserie chicken. Super easy. Chopped it up about 3 ounces. Didn't use the dark, but super good. You could grill chicken. I've done that too, but I generally don't mind when this is reheated in a pizza. I've used grilled chicken versions, and I didn't really like that as much as this. Super easy, and it's ready to go. You just buy it from Costco, $5. You can't beat that deal. So, yeah. Anyways, we are just about ready. And once this is all done, we're gonna basically just take this spray and really coat the crust. About 10 to 15 sprays or so. If I'm doing the smaller versions, maybe 10 squirts. But really, as long as you leave a nice little edge, this gives it that crust that every other recipe I've tried, if you're trying to, a deficit, is really lacking. So, here we go. Let's see how we're doing. Alrighty. And see, that looks pretty good. I don't know how that's going to come out on camera, but yeah, that's looking really good. So, basically, what we're going to do now, we're going to leave the oven alone because we're going to go back in, and we're going to take our spray, and like I said, we're just going to kind of sprays on the outside, make sure to really get that crust. That's the important part. A couple sprays in the middle, and that's good. And then, so we've got the personal version here. We're just going to kind of get that outside crust, and a couple sprays on the inside, and that's good. Okay, like I said, really helpful. Let's turn that off because it's annoying. Okay, so I'm going to stop the camera for a second. My wife and I are going to put all our toppings on, and then we'll check back in. I'll put them in the oven for another 5 to 7 minutes, and we're going to be there. So. Okay, so we are about 31 minutes in, and like I said, all the filming and all this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. So this is how my wife did hers. This hasn't gone back in the oven. She's got the chicken and the feta and all sort of things going on. I got more of this red pepper and all these chilies and pepperoni and Canadian bacon and little bacon crumble. So 2 different versions. You can make it however you want. Just like I said, it's whatever your preferences are. Just watch the calories. And if you add it all up and you're scanning it using MyFitnessPal as you go, that's kind of the easiest way. But really, once you build that crust, put some sort of protein on there for your meat. That's what's going to be, most important in terms of that high protein to fill you up. So all these other little things like seasonings and sauces are for flavor, so you like it. So we're going to pop it in the oven, and then we're going to go about 5 to 7 minutes, and I'll show you the final product, and then see if we can get a good visual of how it looks and comment on the taste. Okay, as we come down to the final minute here or so, basically just a quick opportunity to tell you about some of the best benefit of this whole process. Not only do you know the calories are pretty close, when you eat out you kind of don't know, but all the movement you get. So I was actually using the time that it was cooking here to get everything cleaned up, put away, so all that energy is actually expended in terms of calories out. So that's something you're not going to get either ordering Grubhub or driving to go get something. So basically, yeah, I just basically have, and like I said, final seconds here. We're going to pull it out. Pizza cutter for the one on the flat tray. The personal pan's an interesting one because we can slide that parchment paper out, cut it up either into 4ths or 6ths, and you can actually put that parchment paper back into the personal pan, which I'll show. My wife doesn't want to be on camera, so we'll show you the final product, and then that'll be it. So let's pull this out and we'll get going. Okay, and this is the final product for the personal pan version. We went onto the cutting board, did a little chopping, and then we put a little bit of spinach on there, and it's all done. Okay. Alright, so this is the final, the big version. So we did the personal version, and basically just going to go ahead and cut on into this. Now, if you want it crunchier or crispier, we could go into the air fryer, which I've done in the past. If you just are ready to eat, kind of like I am now, I'm just going to cut a scarf on it. Still pretty good. When it's this loaded, generally the toppings aren't always going to be 100% done. So I don't recommend, if you want it a little crunchier, then you could maybe have a couple pieces ready to go, and then you could do a couple in the air fryer. And that's actually what I might do because I'm pretty hungry right now. So I'm just going to cut it up. And let's see if we can kind of, I don't know if we can get that on camera, but basically, yeah, that's a thick crust. It's got the burn end. Like I said, when you did the sauce, you want to leave that crust so you can really get that crunch. So, like I said, middle's a little bit soft. We could air fry it if we want, but in the end, this is 44 minutes in, I believe. 44 minutes, and that's with filming and everything. So normally 25-30 minutes. You got a bomb pizza. Stay in a deficit. Love what you're eating. I'm a big advocate for that. Something else I'm going to do too, just for funsies. Just a tiny bit of Parmesan. And that is my thick crust pizza. Alright, so there you have it. This is the thick crust version of pizza. If you're on in a deficit, trying to stay in a deficit, we got a lot of protein in here. I think about 90 grams. Like I said, it's got that thick crust, and I guess no video is complete without actually giving it a shot. So yeah, air fryer if you want a little bit crunchier. To me, this has that texture that you just don't expect from Greek yogurt and egg whites. All the toppings really give you the same kind of feeling that you're eating out, but a couple of little hacks, like I said, Canadian bacon, a little lower in calories. Turkey pepperoni, that's a good one. And really where the money comes out is this crust, which is crunchy and something you're never going to get in a flatbread version. So I've done a bunch of versions of pizza. Now if I took 2 of these and put them in a meal tray, 250 calories, higher in protein, air fryer, and it's like, you won't even believe it. So hope you enjoy. Hope it helps you out. And like I said, let me know if you have any feedback, comments. Always want to make things better. So if you found something that is even better than this, then I'd love to know. So until next time, take care.